An island with an active volcano that could erupt at any moment.
Let's start the new day by checking how my animals made it through the night. The sheep appear content, and their troughs are still brimming with feed, but I must intervene with the chickens and replenish their fresh grain supply. The field where I've planted rapeseed is now ready for harvest. It's time for my very first truly significant investment, one that's set to completely transform the way I earn a living on this island. I've invested over 11,000 euros to construct a sawmill. This will enable me to stop selling timber in its raw form, and instead, dramatically increase my earnings from every tree I cut down. My brand new factory cannot afford to sit idle for too long, just waiting for materials. So, without further delay, I'm getting right to work and heading straight for the forest. Yet again, strenuous physical toil awaits me there, but the profound realization that raw timber will be transformed into exquisite finished products right here in my sawmill ensures that every single minute spent with a saw in hand feels like an exceptional investment. However, I absolutely must finally create a concrete system that will enable me to transport wood much more quickly, because the current chaos is merely squandering my valuable time. My biggest challenge is efficiently stacking the logs on the trailer, where every crooked tree blocks space for the next one. These protruding branches are truly bothering me, catching on the edges and making it quite difficult to properly and tightly arrange the load. I've decided that I'll first load these perfectly straight pieces of wood, devoid of branches or knots, to establish an ideal base, and then, only at the very end, add the tree crowns. This arrangement should allow me to make full use of the trailer's capacity and reduce the number of trips across that creaky bridge. I'm delivering the first batch of wood to the factory, and now comes the crucial moment to decide what I actually want to produce here, at this very spot. After a moment's thought, I decided to produce long planks. As you can see, my factory has a colossal appetite, capable of accommodating 10 times more raw material than I could manage to deliver in just this one single run. Plank production at the sawmill has already started, and we'll deal with completely filling the storage later. It's time now to sell off all the products from my animals. Right now there isn't much to sell, so the profits won't be huge, but it's always a good thing to get a little extra money in the wallet. I got just under 300 euros for the eggs I sold, and 1600 euros for the pallet of wool. Since the animals aren't earning us as much as we'd like just yet, we have to go back to the forest for some guaranteed money. I'm extremely relieved I managed to build this bridge so rapidly. Without access to this island, we would really be in a tough spot right about now. Trees are once again becoming my primary source of income, and they will finance the next machine acquisition. In theory, I'm only short about 1,000 euros, but I'd rather cut a little more wood, just to be safe. It's better to have a safe cash reserve and not zero out my account right after the purchase. Especially since on a farm, some sudden extra expense can always crop up unexpectedly. I made over 7,000 euros from this haul, so I can finally head to the shop and buy my first combine harvester. I ultimately settled on an old trusty Massey Ferguson combine harvester, costing 10,500 euros, plus a header for 2,800 euros. While visually this equipment may not be the most impressive, the most crucial aspect is that the machine remains fully operational and prepared for rigorous work. After purchase, I took the combine straight to the rapeseed field and began harvesting. I was really counting on getting the entire harvest done in one go, but unfortunately I was short by a few percent and had to go empty the tank. For 2,500 liters of rapeseed, I got nearly 8,000 euros at the point of sale. I immediately went to harvest the unfinished section, because with my tight budget and the volcano's ticking clock, I simply cannot afford to incur any losses whatsoever. I truly feel my farm has ascended to an entirely new level of professionalism. After selling all the rapeseed, I have almost 15,000 euros in my account. That's a really solid amount, which gives me a lot of room to maneuver, but I'm not going to rest on my laurels. Instead of celebrating my success, I immediately get right back to work. I start making round bales from the straw that's left over after the harvest. My goal is to maximize the profit from every square meter of this field, so I'm making sure absolutely nothing goes to waste. Each bale of straw represents additional income, propelling me closer to acquiring more machinery and achieving my ultimate objective. I truly feel like I finally hit my stride. The rapeseed has been sold, the straw is now being collected, and my account balance is increasing at a pace I would have never anticipated just days ago. Naturally, these 3 straw bales, which I painstakingly created, must be sold to maximize the profits derived from this very field. Thanks to them, my balance is now almost 20,000 euros. It's amazing how quickly I managed to save up this much, starting from absolutely nothing. The time has come for another important investment that will open up a completely new source of income for me. I've made the decision to construct 4 greenhouses on my property, which will allow me to finally diversify my income and no longer depend exclusively on timber harvesting. Although the forest hasn't failed me yet, the knowledge of having a stable, regular income from greenhouse crops provides me with a significantly greater sense of security. However, generating income from these 4 greenhouses won't be as effortless or as passive as it might initially appear to be. I really need to remember to consistently provide water for my vegetables, because without adequate irrigation, the entire operation will simply grind to a halt. I decided to go with lettuce because after analyzing the market, it turned out to be the most profitable. This daily water delivery logistical task is another burden, but with the price of lettuce, it's definitely worth the effort. My farm is transforming into an increasingly intricate machine, where each individual component must operate in perfect harmony. The time has come to return to my roots and get back to mowing the grass. Selling silage is very good and easy money, which I simply cannot afford to pass up. Not if I'm determined to maintain the rapid growth rate of my farm. Additionally, I find the actual task of trimming the greenery quite satisfying, so it would truly be unwise to abandon an occupation that perfectly blends pleasure with productivity. Driving my tractor with the mower across the green meadow, each cut patch of grass means thousands more euros in my account. It's the very stable foundation of my business, providing me with a break from the more complicated logistics of the sawmill and greenhouses. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I sincerely encourage you to hit that subscribe button. And if you're interested in playing on this map, or any of my other maps, I invite you to explore my Patreon. Now, the time has come to bale our freshly cut grass, and then wrap it in protective foil. I genuinely can't decide for myself which part of this entire process is the most satisfying and pleasing to the eye. Is it that moment when the machine ejects a perfectly formed, tightly packed bale, or when the wrapper covers the green bales in white foil? Each wrapped bale represents a guaranteed profit that will soon be credited to my account. Once the grass transforms into valuable silage, it's truly incredible how this simple act can bring such peace after the morning's hustle at the greenhouses and sawmill. I just remembered I still need to take care of my one and only field before I get swamped with today's other challenges. Now it's time to bring in the cultivator to properly loosen the soil, getting it ready to replant that rapeseed that brought in such good profits for me recently. As soon as the ground is prepared, I'll immediately start with the seeding, so I don't overlook it amidst the other duties that are still awaiting me. This field is the very foundation of my operation, so I absolutely cannot afford any delays in the crop cycle whatsoever. I still have a bit of budget left to spend, so now I'm going to make sure someone finally notices me on this island and comes to my rescue. I've decided to construct enormous signs that will distinctly appeal for assistance from any aircraft flying overhead or vessel sailing by. I'm using red barrels to construct the words SOS and help, strategically placing them on opposite ends of the island to significantly boost my chances of being rescued. I truly hope this vibrant red will perfectly contrast with the island's background, ensuring the signs are clearly visible from a great distance. This is a truly pivotal moment for me because even as my farm continues to expand, my ultimate goal still remains a safe escape from this perilous place. Setting up these two signals is my next life insurance policy. It, along with the sawmill and greenhouses, offers me a slim chance of returning to civilization before the volcano ultimately awakens. I decided to rest a little after a whole day of hard work, but as soon as I woke up, I was greeted by unexpected small hail hitting the roof of my tent. Without wasting a second, I quickly donned my helmet to protect my head from the onslaught of ice pellets that began to batter my farm. Now that my head is safe under the helmet, it's time to restock the sawmill so that plank production doesn't stop for a single moment. As you can see, I have over 50,000 euros in my account, so I can afford to make some investments. But it's precisely this hard work that enables me to multiply these amounts. It's well worth the dedication to replenish my raw material supplies, because it only involves felling 2 trees, and the value of the finished products far exceeds the quick sale of raw timber. This strategy is the key to my wealth. I process raw material into a high-paying commodity instead of getting rid of it for pennies. I went into the forest with renewed energy, knowing that these 2 logs would soon turn into piles of expensive long planks, which will push my account balance even higher. The sawmill is now fully restocked, and I'm heading off for a quick nap, allowing my productions ample opportunity to prove their worth and generate a considerably hefty profit for me. I've already got over 90,000 euros in my account, which is an incredible result. After a quick nap, it's time for my morning rounds on the farm to feed the chickens and sell a pallet of eggs, along with 2 pallets of wool. I made over 6,000 euros for those 3 pallets. I have noticed that my forest is slowly starting to run out of trees. So, with my earnings, I'm getting a professional planter and saplings. With a budget of over 100,000, I can afford an investment like this, which will ensure a steady supply of raw material for the sawmill in the future. I spent 28,500 euros on these purchases. This is a crucial step to make sure my long plank production never stops due to a lack of material. Reforestation ensures the very foundation of my business on this island. Now's the time to profit from my meadow's efforts and sell off all the accumulated silage. I was very worried about these bales because the hail and the sudden bad weather could have damaged the wrapping, which would have ruined the entire contents. But fortunately, everything remained perfectly intact. After delivering the load to the selling point and finalizing the transaction, I felt a huge sense of relief. Thanks to these few bales, my account balance instantly shot back up to over 90,000 euros. It's an amazing feeling to see the budget recover so quickly after the recent large expenses on the planter and new trees. A well-organized space is crucial, as looking for tools amidst chaos is merely a waste of precious time, which I have less and less of with my increasing responsibilities. That's why I decided to invest 4,000 euros into building another shed, ensuring that all the machines have their own dedicated spaces. And on top of that, it should also make the entire yard appear a lot more professional. When every machine has its designated spot, work goes much more smoothly, and I can focus on planning the next plank deliveries or checking on the greenhouses. Now that the foundations are in place, I truly feel that my operating base on this island is evolving into a genuine modern farm. The time has come for me to purchase a new, significantly larger cultivator. This will enable me to efficiently prepare the ground for my most recent investment. I need a more powerful machine to create an even larger field for crops. Even though available space on my islands is rapidly diminishing, I've chosen to place this fresh field right at the base of the volcano, not far from my existing smaller plot, and conveniently located in close proximity to that massive "Help Me" sign. I truly hope that the vibrant sight of colorful crops, coupled with the bright red barrels arranged to spell out SOS and HELP, will become even more striking, effectively grabbing the attention of anyone who happens to be near this island. This isn't just about farming, it's a calculated rescue strategy. A color combination like that, right under the volcano, will be hard to miss from the air. As you may have noticed, I invested nearly 14,000 euros in this equipment. However, it's a sound investment that significantly advances my plan to maximize the utilization of this land. I just discovered that I can actually generate and sell electricity, and all I need to do this is sawdust. Isn't that incredible? This is a brilliant solution, so I've decided to construct a small incinerator, which will allow me to further boost profits from every tree harvested. Now, this sawmill byproduct won't just accumulate in storage. Instead, it will be transformed into pure, hard cash, directly channeled from the energy grid. This construction cost me over 42,000 euros, but I'm counting on it paying for itself very quickly. I figured it would be good to restock the sawmill so the warehouse was full of raw material. With my budget, I could afford a relaxed logging session, but unfortunately I zoned out for a moment and accidentally sold the wood directly at the selling point. That's a tough lesson because every 2 trees cut and processed into planks are worth over 50,000 euros. But oh well, everyone makes mistakes sometimes, especially with this many responsibilities. After buying a bigger cultivator, it was time for a bigger seeder. This set me back 34,000 euros. After a quick refill of the tank, I immediately went to the field to begin planting. I've decided to plant soybeans in this new field, which has just been created right at the foot of the volcano. I really must admit that operating this specific seeder is an absolute pleasure. This machine flawlessly handles the somewhat challenging local terrain, and the sight of those perfectly sown rows, contrasting with my bold red SOS and help signs, fills me with immense pride. After I finished sowing soybeans in the new field under the volcano, I didn't waste a moment and headed back to the forest to oversee the transport of wood to the sawmill this time. Having learned from my last mistake, when I absent-mindedly sold the logs at the sell point for a fraction of their value, I was now fully focused, loading each log onto the trailer. I knew that these 2 felled trees were crucial to get my long plank production running at full steam and generate that promised 50,000 euro profit. Driving into the factory grounds with a full load was a huge relief. The raw material landed precisely where it was meant to. Then I recalled another extremely urgent task that, amidst the flurry of recent work, I had completely forgotten about. With all the chaos of building greenhouses, the sawdust incinerator, and putting up a new garage, it slipped my mind that the rapeseed in my smaller field was growing perfectly and is now fully mature. I sprang into action immediately, heading there with my old Massey Ferguson before the weather plays a trick on us again and hail or heavy rain destroys these valuable crops. The tank filled up to 100%, so I drove straight to the sell point to unload and sell the grain I'd managed to harvest. An extra 7,000 euros landed in my account. After that job, I have over 19,000 euros, so I'm parking the combine harvester and moving on. It's time for another round of logging and delivering fresh logs to the sawmill. I know perfectly well I've done this many times before, but my plan remains simple and effective. I want to clear out all the old trees in the vicinity and transform them into a substantial fortune. It's a bold move, but one I can afford to make with complete peace of mind, because my recent investment in a tree planter is already starting to pay off. The young saplings are just now breaking through the ground, reaching upwards to the sky. I'm entering the forest with a clear vision. Each cut log that goes to the sawmill means another 50,000 euros, bringing me closer to millionaire status on this island. And because I took care of forest regeneration, I don't have to worry about the environment or running out of raw material in the future. My plank factory is operating at peak capacity, and this new incinerator is eagerly awaiting sawdust, ready to convert it into pure electrical power profit. I have loaded a full trailer of wood, and I'm now heading straight to the sawmill to unload it. After the rapeseed harvest, the next task was to tidy up the field and bale the remaining straw. It's a great way to make the most of every harvest. The rapeseed will go into the silo or be sold, and the straw will turn into extra cash. After I baled the straw, I immediately started a massive operation to cut down and transport as many trees as I possibly could, getting them all into my warehouse as quickly as possible. I likely won't have enough trees on these islands to completely fill the warehouse, as it can hold a full 100,000 liters. I'll cut down all the trees and we'll see how much I can gather. I'm delivering trailer loads of wood to the sawmill, one after another. The great moment has arrived. I've just delivered the last batch of wood to the sawmill, thus completing the extensive clear out of my lands. I look with pride at the warehouse gauge, which shows over 70,000 liters of raw material waiting to be processed. And at the end of this busy day, it's time to prepare my smaller field again for planting rapeseed. I simply cannot allow this land to remain barren, wasting its valuable potential while I simply rest. Using my brand new cultivator, preparing the field took literally no time at all. We began our operation simply by relying on logging, and now my business has transformed into a complex and perfectly well-oiled machine. The most significant breakthrough was establishing 4 lettuce greenhouses, which, due to their consistently stable price, became the absolute bedrock of my daily income, despite requiring regular water deliveries to sustain them. Every single one of my endeavors on this island, from the chicken farming to the advanced crop cultivation, the timber industry, and even energy production, has brought me to the best financial standing I've had since I first started my journey on this island. Sowing the rapeseed is almost finished, so there's really nothing left for me to do but simply wait for everything to grow, for the trees to start growing back, so I can finally get back to cutting them again. During that time, I'll have to keep a close eye on my animals and factories to make sure nothing runs out anywhere. We're definitely on the right path to escape this desolate volcanic island before that volcano blows its top.